am recording this session just to let you all know. Thank you for that reminder because we were supposed to record it and I had forgotten. Okay, so we are on, I apologize for the recorded people. You kind of missed the intro slide, but I'll get it back to you. We're on slide 3 of 6, as you can see in the corner. I asked you to rate your skills. I have 24 students in here, so there's one student who still hasn't rated themselves. And how do you feel with Google Slide check-in? So you can see that I can do this. It's anonymous, which is great. When I get the data report, I'll see exactly where people fall. But this is my slide, and here are my responses, which is really neat that you're able to see that. Okay, if we continue on with our slides, and I'm self-pacing just to give you an idea. There's a template library that is awesome. I didn't make these slides; they're there for you inside the template library, and I'll show you where that is. There's beginning, during, and end of lesson slides. So you can click and drag them into your presentations that you have. And then they also have subject area slides where they might have a Venn diagram to compare things in science, or they might have a map, an interactive map with social studies or world languages. ELA, they might have some text boxes that are there. So these are some fantastic resources that I guess you have, and it's all in there and it's all free. And then once you get them in there, you can decide, and I'll show you, this was this slide that you're looking at. This had this person as a check-in, but I put in Google Slides. I changed them to say novice, intermediate, and expert. So it gives you a base, but you can actually personalize it to there. So it kind of gives you some ideas, and I'll show you how to find that in a moment. Okay. If you have any questions, feel free to drop them into the chat. So as a teacher, yes, Jackie had asked, as a teacher, can you see the responses? So yes, when I get my data report, I will see the responses for this. It does not do it on my screen right now. You're actually looking at the teacher screen. So you would have to be looking at it. It wouldn't be live time responses unless I had a second tab, I guess, opening up to that spot, which I don't have at this time. So yeah, so it's kind of it's a neat feature, I think, because like I said, it's 100% participation and it's a non-threatening environment because people can be honest. So the template library is awesome. There's also the slides menu on the right of your, and I'll show you what this looks like. It pops up right within your Google Slides menu, and it's an add-on. So once you have it there, it's going to be a Pear Deck add-on, and it's going to be automatically able to be opened on your devices. So once you download it, just like a extension, once you have it, it's kind of there forever. It does allow you to add audio to your slides. So if you wanted to actually have pre-recorded information on this slide and I was giving it to a class, they could have, they have audio in there. And there's a ton of, like I said, this is our template library. And then there's some, if you feel skilled enough to make your own slide or how you want to do it, there's some things there. The last slide that I have just as a demonstration, if you go in here, is it's asking you to draw or type your name on the slide. So this can kind of get fun. Let's see if it pops up here. It hasn't. I have a little bit of a delay. I guess that's, you got to get used to that with Meet. So I'm going to admit her. So on the little bit of the delay there that you have, so it's asking you as you type, you should be getting in a toolbar that popped up below. And as you type, you should be able to see the responses come up. So I'm not seeing them yet because I haven't shown responses, but I can see that somebody's already in there. TRO. There is a typing box. There's some font, but if you can, just try to feel that out. Like, see what that says. It's a draw or type your name on this slide. So I'm choosing for people to see this. I can hide it if I don't want people to, but I can choose it, and I could lock it if I was asking them all to submit an answer. So take a moment and just kind of see how that works on your end and see what happens here. And yes, a kid could write a swear word right here, and it will show up on your screen, I think. So that is something to keep in mind. But you could ask kids to draw or to write their name. Somebody's drawing a really nice, I'm going to say it's like a bumblebee with some wings going on there. It says, is this a freemium model? Are there any features that need a paid? Okay, so yes, in the chat, somebody was asking, can you pay for a subscription of it? Yes, you can. And they're giving me right now, this is my free. So I want to see delete response. Huh. I don't know what that's doing. Let me just go back here. I don't know why delete response just came on. So I don't know what the limitations on it are, John, at this moment. I've used it. I rolled it out for my new teacher orientation and I had success. I also rolled it out today. It'll give me some data reports. I think there's some more like extra data reports that you can have through this, like maybe, you know, how it reports back. You know, it gives me kind of a document and I can see that. But you can see how I think I must have set this up too, that once one person deletes, it deletes the whole slide. So I'm sure there's some corrections on this, but you can. So you can have something typed in there, notice so that you can get there. So this is like another interactive slide. So if I was to say, I'm just going to go back a little bit because I know some people joined us late and I did not do this when I first started. So let me just go back to the first slide so we can kind of review a little bit before I close these down. We started off this Pear Deck with getting you into one, and you notice the code is up on the top right-hand side. So if a kid joined late and they knew your format, you had a routine, you'd be able to get them into there. I asked a little pre-question, kind of like, hey, you know, an intro, a warm-up. What are you looking forward to? I can show or share the responses with everybody on the call, or I am going to get a copy of these sent to me, so I can see exactly what my questions were. Okay, so we could actually go through these and discuss them if I was in my Zoom meeting. The second slide that we had was just sharing some information about Pear Deck, how it's free, it's an add-on, and that there's no, you know, the ease of use. I think you guys all jumped into it without too many directions. And the huge part is the data. It is going to send me a report, and it's going to say, you know, this is Matt's response to his warm-up question, and I'm going to get each kid's response, which is really neat. And also on that same, it will send a copy of this whole slideshow and his responses. So Matt's actually going to get a response too in his email of everything that's there. Okay. I did a check-in. I was able to show responses. This is where it asks you to rate yourself. You know, a check-in. It could be your social emotional. How are you feeling today? It could be maybe a pre-check to see what kind of information people have. And you can see how it's live time. Some people are adjusting their skills there. Where they are. When you're in, if I am in the teacher module, which I don't have open right now, I could actually hover over and see whose response is whose. I also can see a report for each student. So you can see how this could be helpful for students. And you can see how this has 30 kids, so it's kind of, it's a pretty full screen, okay? When you go in, there's a template library, which I'll show you in more depth, but it goes in the, you know, warm up, a during class, or an end of class. My thought is I might do this for each one of my Zooms and actually have data that says the kid was there at the beginning, the middle, and the end. Because if somebody logs off early, they obviously can't do the reflection or exit ticket. So that might be a great thing to think about if you have a feeling that people might be flighty or kids might just go in and go back to sleep. They won't get credit for, you know, that lesson. And then it also goes by subjects. There is an add-on, which I'll show you how to do that, and it opens up right in slides. So if I was going to end this, so for instance, say I was done with my presentation. If I say end, it's going to show you here. It wants me to give it a name. So I think this is an important step. If this was my A block geometry class, I would put that in there, but I'm going to put down Pear Deck PD 905, because if I do it at different times, I'm going to remember this is the one. It says publish the student takeaways. That means that, do I want the stuff that you typed in? I do. I want that in there. And if I say save and end the session, it's going to tell you guys that this session is going to be ended. And I'm going to return to my slides. Now, this is not going to, I can share this in a Google Classroom. It's linked with Google Classroom. So if I wanted to throw that down for people to see, but I'm just going to return to Google Slides, and it's going to end your Pear Deck, but it's not ending our meet. So don't panic if it closes your screen. So I'm going to return to Google Slides, and you should be out of my Pear Deck for a second. Okay, so let me show you how did this look when I was working on it, just to give you an idea. I know it's a little smaller here, but I had said, oh, I want to talk about the lowdown. So I had added in this warm up. I put in that slide. You'll notice that they always have this pair at the bottom that kind of tells you this is a Pear Deck slide. But when I first started this presentation or thinking about it last week, I said, all right, I have this slide that's mine. I had 3 slides. You know, these are all mine generated. So in your content area, you probably have a slideshow that goes along with what you're talking about. And what I did then is I added in this slide. So let me demonstrate how that was. Now, because I already have it as an add-on, it's already here. Okay, see where it says Pear Deck, open Pear Deck add-ons. Now, if you are a person who's never used Pear Deck, you are going to have to, for the first time, go and get it. So to show you that, if you go to add-ons and it says get add-ons, this is where you type in Pear Deck. So I have it right here, but it would pop up and you could do a search. So if you're a person who has never used it before, it doesn't cost anything. It's not going to ruin anything, but add-ons are there. I have a translator on my add-on. some other things that are there. So you can see that. So I have my add-on here. It opened up a menu bar. This is my template library. So when I went here and I said, oh, I wanted to do a question, I'm going to open up my library and go see at the beginning of the lesson, what kind of ideas does Pear Deck have? So these are all slides that you can use. And I know they're tiny on your screen. So I'm going to kind of hover and talk a little bit. But it says, this first slide says, as you come in and get started, follow these directions, 1, 2, and 3. So that would kind of get people started. What did you learn from your homework? Okay. Draw or type 2 things you already know about today's topic. So if I was to click, so say I wanted this one to go in there. When I click on it, it's going to then drop it into my slideshows on the left. So you'll see it kind of come in. Okay, so I had that one originally. I can have here. Now when I'm here, I can say 2 things you already know about, and maybe I'll type in here. See how easy it is to personalize? So I can say Pear Deck. If I wanted to add in an image or something, I can do that too. But it's basically, this is ready to go. So when you go to starting your lesson, which I haven't done yet, I'll get into that. This slide is good to go. So it's as easy as that, I guess, in my thoughts. So that was like a pre-lesson one. They have during lessons. I just want to show you down here, social emotional. You know, this is where I found that you have a moment of silence. This was that stress check. I used that for this slide, right? I said, Google Slides skills check. Well, this one, it actually came in. I'm just going to insert it again so you can see it full. This was a slide. I said, oh, this will kind of work for what I need. But you could use this as checking in with your students to see how they're feeling that day. So here's my stress check. You'll notice that when it came in, this is asking, I'm in a good space, something's bothering me, or I can't manage my emotions. Now you'll notice on this one, it has a happy, a medium, and a sad face. When I used it, I said, you know what? I want to make sure everybody's happy. So you can click on your own personal slide and you can delete these people, or you can copy and paste them. So I'm able to bring her over here. So that the templates that they're giving you are really easy to manipulate. I'm just going to undo that so I don't ruin my slide here. And you're able to, like I said, change the way it looks, put in pictures or images. If I don't like that slide, I can just like in Google Slides, I can delete it. Okay, so I can get rid of it and delete that slide. Okay, so that's another one that I said, like, that's the social emotional part. There are examples like for littles, math, science, social studies. So say, for instance, in science, there's some really neat slides that are already there that will probably work for your content areas. One of them, I'm just going to put in a Venn diagram because I'm familiar with it. But when I click on this, I can bring this in, and somebody had asked a question about how does this, so I could say Pear Deck versus another tool. Pear Deck versus, and I don't know the name of that other tool, but someone had mentioned how does this compare to something else? And you could actually, the kids, when they're there, they're going to be able to type into this slide. So here's another interactive way that you could do this. And this is whole class, mind you. This is not like, I know Zoom talks about breakout groups. I'm not quite sure how that would work with a breakout group, so I can't really address that, but I'm sure there's information out there. That has a cause and effect. So this kind of gives you an idea. That's science. Someone had a math question that was there. You know, for math, you could, you know, whether you're doing something, it could be a pre-designed slide. I found that these slides kind of trigger my ideas. You know, you can say, oh, insert your prompt here, add dimensions or move. They can categorize. So I think just looking at the templates kind of give you an idea of, like I said, what your base was and how you wanted to add to it. That was there. So these are all the templates, and you could spend days on these. Solve the problem, you know, and you can have them show you could show, if we put this one in there, type your problem here. So say you had a problem for kids to do while you're in presentation mode, you could actually share their responses, or you could keep it private so that it's there. So there's a whole bunch, like I said, that would support any kind of topic area. I'm liking it, I think, because I think it shows accountability. It gives me the data that I need. I can see that it's engaging. That's there. So let me just show you what it looks like from a teacher view. So like, what did this session look like? If I went to Pear Deck Educator, I think it is. I think I have to log in. Okay, Pear Deck, you want to log in with your Google email. So teacher login, I had already set up an account. So here I am, and I can look at my sessions. So if I was trying to see, like, hey, I wonder how I closed my session today. I do have some examples. Here's my session. Let me show you. I just don't know if the data is going to be there right there. Let's just see what it does. Okay, this is what I presented. Okay, this is what I presented. I'm just not familiar with the data part of it too much. It does show me an email that'll say, hey, here it is. Let's see if this one is it, the dashboard. So there's a dashboard. It automatically keeps that in, and it'll show you there. Let me just check my email for a second, because sometimes in email you'll get a, I'll get a response that would show me. Okay, so it hasn't come in yet, but Pear Deck is going to send me through this educator session some of my data. So how did people answer? So let me go back to, let's see, Thursday, Saturday test for PD day. So you can see I tested it out on myself just to see how it works. I basically logged myself in twice to see what a person would see. Okay, so I can kind of see the responses, show responses. So I can see where the kids fell. So this is the data from me taking it on Saturday to see how it works. Okay, let me open it up to questions. I know I threw a lot out at you. I'd love to see if there's anything. Oh, I see them in the thing. Okay. If there's any questions that are here. Student view, will they have to open 2 windows? So yes, I guess so. There's a good question. So you would have to, I guess I would see that you would have, you'd be in your Google Meet, and then you would throw it out just like I did in this PD day. You throw out a second tab. So there is a learning curve to that. So I guess how would I do that personally? I probably would have kids meet like I would like this, and I'd say, hey, we're all going to go into Pear Deck, and I want to show you how to do that. And I'm going to demonstrate it for you, and then I want you to do it. So I would actually show them this slide where it says, you know, joinpd.com. So I would demonstrate, and I'd say, watch my slide for a second, and then I see I opened a second tab. And then I would be able to say, you know, once everybody gets here, it's going to ask you for the code. So you're going to go back to, I have too many tabs open right now, BXYNI. So I would kind of demonstrate it with my class. So there is a skill, there's a little bit of a learning curve, I would say, if you are trying to do this with your classroom. So that is a good point. But I think once they get it, if they saw that Pear Deck and that code, you could drop the code in your stream and say, join it. One of the things I didn't show you is that when you do, okay, so say I was ready to do, I just added in a couple extra slides, right? You always, when I would share this lesson, I would start it up here, and this is how I get the code. So I would have to make sure I start the lesson this way. It's not like you're not sharing your slideshow anymore. You're starting a Pear Deck slide. So when I say start lesson, it's going to ask me a pretty interesting question. So one is a student paced one. That's the one, and this is why I liked Pear Deck too. I found with my remote, if I shared something out, adults and kids, you tend to like flip through the slides and go to the end and see what you have to do for your project. So I think that this was kind of nice. You can do a student pace. So say a student was absent and they wanted to go through this, I can set up a code just for that activity, meaning they click through the slides. I chose instructor pace because I'm able to say, we are staying on, you know, we're going to stay on this slide and talk about what you guys want to learn. Before the kid is going to like, what's our project today? So there's 2 different ways to do that that's there. So that's something that is there. Let me just see if there's anything else in the, to show you again, I guess just to review a few things that I think I would go, if I were you, I would go to Pear Deck and set up an account that's linked with your Google. That would be something I would do just to get an idea. If you type in Pear Deck Educator, make sure you're an educator. And this is my account. It does give you this premium, which I'm still not sure what premium does versus the other. So I'm going to look into that a little bit more before I invest in it, because I don't want to have to pay for this service. I think it has to do with the data and the reporting. So I think I'm pretty happy with what they had and your account itself. Inside your slides, what I think is fantastic is you find those slideshows that you've already done last year on the topic of your choice, say digital citizenship. And then I go back and I say, hey, how do I want to make this Pear Deck? I want to add in an opener. I think I want to have a skills check to see where they think there are, so I can kind of gauge and pace my further instruction. And I'm going to have an exit ticket because I'm going to put that right into, that's going to be one of my assessments. That's going to go right into iPass. So I think that's, you kind of look at what you have and then you see how you can build this. If I were you, I wouldn't try to do every single one, but I think you give it a try. And I think the kids will really appreciate the fact that it's live and that they're able to do things like that. Other questions that you might have within this itself? Let's see. Upgrading to Pear, okay, enables, she said, upgrading to Pear Deck Premium enables a whole host of a new, okay, highlight or hiding students, Google Classroom integration. Okay, so maybe I can't integrate with Google Classroom, the link. Live teacher dashboard. Okay, the live teacher dashboard must have been what somebody was asking about with seeing the responses that they have. So I guess I'm going to just, yeah, thank you, Stevie. I'm going to kind of just follow it out a little bit. I'm finding, like I said, that it sends me a report. Let me see if I can find the report that I got in the past to give you an idea. Does it send you like a report? This is what happened. Okay, so this will give me, I'm just trying to find one down here. Okay, let's see what this, so this was a report that was emailed to me. Okay, so this is me. Okay, Moira Larson. I'm sorry. I'm looking at Moira. So I just got a copy of everybody who's in here. So so Moira Larson, this is her data report. So this is basically her. I would say this is her accountability for my class this day. If she was, use this space to summarize. So this was where she's typing. If she added in a question, it would be here. She's rated herself as an intermediate person as far as Google Slides. And you can see that she put in her name, and that's kind of the end, but she has a copy. So I guess in my inbox, which that's kind of a nightmare, but I did get everybody who filled one out. You can see here's Heidi's, here's Elena's, Pat Rossi. So I can actually see, I would probably use this in the classroom as my assessment tool, whether I wanted to look at the exit ticket. I'm thinking if you paid premium that you probably can look behind the scenes like this and see your sessions and see the results there. So I haven't, like I said, gone into that too much. Takeaways. Oh, see, takeaways are premium. So maybe that would be export to a spreadsheet. But there's all sorts of things that you can do in here. But I don't think, like I said, the very minimal, I think it gives integration. Yeah, so integrating into Google Classroom. So I guess what I saw with that is, I mean, you can always drop here's your Pear Deck code, and you can drop in, and the kids are going to get, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, in your email, because I ended the session, I think you're getting this same copy of what just happened today. So you might want to check your email, but I think because you were in my class and we went through all these slides that you actually got a copy of this slideshow. So maybe in Google Classroom, Heidi, I would put it as, you might have the kids, although it comes in my email, but they could take they could submit their data and they could send it back to you. So I could have, that I could ask Moira Larson if she's in my class. I could say, Moira, can you upload your data that you got as, and I'm going to be assessing it. That's there. Okay, so, oh, good. Heidi said she did get an email. So she sees her email that's there. So it's pretty quick in there. That's there. Any other thoughts that you have? I know it's 9:35. You have something coming up in about 15 minutes or so. I think what I'll do is I'll hang out, and if you have personal questions, you can feel free to shout them out to me, but I hope that you take time to explore this. This tool, like I said, was game-changing, I think, for interactive slideshows. It makes me feel like the kids actually have to be clicking and responding, and it gives us a time to really connect with them, I think, on a different level. So I think once they get used to the tool, they'll be there. Oh, you asked Nearpod. I don't know, Stevie, about Nearpod. I'm going to write that down. I guess I could leave you. I'll keep talking here. I did write down some ideas about how could you use this. Asking the students what they already know. Ask them if they're ready to move on. I mean, that's a great point. Like you're in the middle of presenting something and you've overwhelmed them with all these different facts. It's great to say, like, let's do a check-in. Are you ready to move on or not? An exit ticket is fantastic. Great in language arts, especially, I guess, just asking students to create a new ending or an outcome. So like that exit ticket that I did that just basically said, that I had you draw on this slide, you could actually have them do an exit ticket, what's a new outcome. So this could be now that we finished our intro on this, I'd like you to spend 15 to 20 minutes of our class to create a new outcome. It should be 3 paragraphs and include, you can have a rubric there. But basically you could have them submitting their outcomes there. Putting items in chronological order, I saw that on there. So any of you history teachers out there, if you're trying to do timelines, that's fantastic. A click and drag kind of activity. Predicting what might come next. You could be reading a story and you can have kids make a prediction. You could share their predictions, but I think it hits that quiet student and gets 100% participation, especially when they see the data reports and they see that they didn't, you're not answering some of these questions. I think they're going to see that there is accountability all throughout the presentation that's there. Translating is, I thought of Miss Sweeney or any of you language teachers, translating a sentence on a slide for Spanish. This might be where you take a break. You might have had them do it, say, on an erase board, or you might show them as a warm up. Here's a sentence. What does this say? What can we see by the context clues that are there? There's a Pear Deck vocab and flashcards, which I haven't even gone into, that was over here, that has a little bit more interaction that you can do. But there's a whole bunch of them, and like I said, if you go through here in the template library, you're going to see a whole bunch of things that you might not even known that would have been fantastic for you that are there. Okay, so if you need to, like I said, if you want to leave and get ready for the next session, feel free to dip out. Send me any questions that you might have. If you want to stay behind and you have some questions, I'm here for you. So it was good kind of seeing you guys, electronically.
Lisa.
Yes.
Lynn.
Hi, Lynn.
So I got the email with like the Google Doc with all the slides from the presentation, and I can see my comments and things. So if I were to type into the summary, you can see all that because it's already shared with you, correct?
I think that's right. So if I go, just do it. I wonder if it's live. Like if you type something in that spot, and I'm going to go back to my email.
Yeah.
So if you told the kids to summarize, that'd be kind of neat, right? You could tell the kids to summarize, and then they could have to go back. Let me just go in here and see where it is.
Yeah. So that was my question too, is where are these all like banked somewhere in your Google Drive? Like, are they automatically like put in a certain folder, or would you have to go back in and kind of reorganize?
I don't know. I
have like one of these for every class for every student.
Yeah, I don't know. Those are all great questions, and I can get back to you on that because I don't know exactly where that goes. I do see, Lynn, that you wrote hello in that space. So so it's kind of like if you gave this as a, and I'll show the screen so people can see it. If you gave this as an exit, I want you to go over the slides and tell me what you learned, then yes. And I guess I would see that as, here we are. So here is your name on here? Oh, it's up here, Lynn McNeil. So you could actually do that, but I would almost say, to submit it or upload, I don't know their skill level at Google Classroom, but I would almost say you need to upload this for me in Google Classroom. And then you could see, not only would they say summarize your thoughts, but I can see that you wrote this response. You were here the whole time. So you did this. So here's 100% participation. You had an exit ticket. You wrote your name. But I think that's a great point. I don't know where it is in my drive. So I can get back to you on that. Let me write a note.
That's good to just upload it onto Google Classroom, and then you have it. It's like already organized for you.
Right. And if you ended class a little bit early, like say this, like I ended at 9:05, if I tell everybody your assignment today when you leave me is to use this space to summarize your thoughts, they can go back in and look at the slides and say, oh, I learned that it's an add-on, not an extension. I learned that. So I think that's a great point.
All right.
Good question. I'll get back to you though.
Thank you.
Anyone else have any questions or thoughts on it that they can add? Or, let's see. I do find it really important. I don't know how you guys are teaching a lesson, but I use the left. There's a screen I keep looking on my left that has my chat in it because you can't monitor chat and faces and what's going on. So I don't know if you have the ability to do that, but if you open up a device to your left and log in as you twice, you actually can see what's going on without having to flip back and forth. Just a teaching tidbit, I guess.
I'm curious if I create one on the computer, if I can use it live on my iPad. I have to play around with that.
Yeah, it is iPad friendly. I just don't know how that works. So you'd have to, it's not like it's not unique to just a Google thing that's there.
It doesn't have the tools is the thing. But I wonder if I create it on the desktop and then use it live on the iPad. I wonder if that'll work.
Yes, because the desktop would bring you in the Google Slide tools. But I'm assuming if you use Google Slides on your iPad that you'd be able to add that in, or do you have to use?
No, Google, the app doesn't allow for add-ons.
Okay, so you're actually doing, well, maybe you're making slides. I bet your Pear Deck has a slides for an iPad.
I checked, they don't.
Okay, I didn't know it was case sensitive, but it would be, I guess maybe Pear Deck just works with Chrome, with Google and
I think you need the add-on to make the functionality work.
Yeah, I just would find it hard that Pear Deck didn't also get all those Mac schools because they want Mac people too. So that would be a Mac
I
thing.
mean, I'll dig a little deeper because it's just more convenient for me to use my iPad, but I didn't find an app or anything like that, so I'll check it
Okay,
out.
and Pat Rossi asked, he says, when I pull up a slideshow, I already have enabled Pear Deck open. Do I just edit the slide that is loaded, or do I have something different to use the program? No, you're just, so basically I was pulling up my old slides. So I'll give you, let me just share my screen for a second, Pat, so we can get there. I was able to, when I opened up my old slides, so say I wanted to add one in, give it a second to start. So here I am at this slide. And I can add in, here's my add-ins and my Pear Deck, and it should open, Pat, on the side. And once it opens on the side, you should be able to, when you're in the template, I'm just gonna throw one from the template just so I can get one in there. You can, when you click on it once, it should just bring it in there. So you're actually editing your pre-existing slideshow. It's not like you're making a new one. I hope that answered your question. Yeah, and then I guess, and to add to that, Pat, I guess the other part is you're not, when you're sharing, we're so used to sharing our slideshow up here with our share button. We are not sharing anymore. We're starting that lesson with Pear Deck because all this magic, this behind the scenes magic that we're putting in, you know, those interactive things, they can't work unless you start a session in Pear Deck. So you want to make sure that you get used to that. Because I was kind of like, oh, I'll share the slideshow, but I didn't want to share the slideshow with you. I wanted to host the lesson in Pear Deck in order to get it there. Let me get out of this, stop sharing my machine. Yeah, so let me see where, I guess I can see where Lynn's thing is. Where is this? Oh, okay, so to answer Lynn's question, I'll have to go back to her. I can see, let me just, I'll share my screen again. I can see that Pear Deck made a folder in my Google Drive. All right, so here I found Lynn's that came in here, and I went up to, or Moira's, and I say, oh, I wonder where this is. If I click on here, this little folder, it's going to show me, see how it says Pear Deck PD9? It made me a file on my edCamp. So here's my Pear Deck PD. So it has a Pear Deck folder, just like Screencastify has a folder that has all of your people in there. So that's why I think it's important to make sure, like this said PD at 9:05. I want to make sure that I don't put like all my blocks together, because you can imagine inside this folder, these are all my responses that I had. I had 30 something responses, and that makes it kind of tricky. If you had, you know, your 4 sections in one folder. So it's probably important that you make sure you label that. That was there. So Pear Deck has its own folder within my folders. So I'll have to get that back to Lynn. Can you input slides from a previous made slideshow? Yes. So Lynn had just asked about, so basically you can go, I'm going to go and get, let me just go get a slideshow. Lynn had asked if you can go and get a slide that you already did in the past and add in Pear Deck, and yes, you can. So if I was to go through, and that's where I think you should start. I don't think I would start with like making slides for this topic so that I can use Pear Deck. I think I would, you know, my comfort level or anybody else's comfort level would be find a slideshow that you already do that is in your, you know, that's in your folder that you do already, and then see if you can, let me see. Let's see. So if I'm just going to grab this for a second. Team Aspire. So here's a slide that I already had. Maybe let's do this. I don't want to touch something that I might have to correct. So these are all my slideshows from the past, and I can go and find one that would be helpful. Okay, so this is a boy, this is a student of mine. I'm just going to use his. So he made one, drones and firefighting over remote learning. So say this was mine that's here. I can add in, this is my pre-existing one. I can make sure that I open up Pear Deck. And if this was mine about drones and firefighting, and this was my slide, I can actually add from the library and put anything that you want. I can put in, you know, I can put this in, click on it once, and it can add in a slide and make any pre-existing slideshow interactive. So that'd be my first slide. My second one would be, think of a question your classmates might have about drones and firefighting. You know, maybe the question is, you know, how do they not burn up because it's so hot in firefighting? So you could add anything to any pre-existing slideshow. Just gonna do this in case he goes back and looks at this and says, why did you touch my slide? Okay. And Lynn, I'm assuming that maybe you were here to hear that it does make a folder on your Google Drive that stores those responses. So it's not all in my inbox. So I'll make sure that that's clear for people. All right, I'm going to stop recording at this time just because we can, let's see.